Hey folks, Flo here, here at Scaling Up 2023. I'm here with Chris Hessler of AJW. Chris, what brings you to Scaling Up?
Well, I come to this conference every year. It's one of the finest conferences around focusing on decarbonization challenges. The people that gather here tend to be people with real world experience, not folks who are just advertising their grand vision and ideas. They've been through hard projects, they've lived through failures, and they've brought success. And decarbonization is an incredibly hard problem. We need pragmatists who can work together to solve the problem.
And that's also what Ian just told us right now, that we need to go for those low-hanging fruits.
Yeah.
Ian McGregor of hydrogen, naturally. So no greenwashing here, you're saying. You're saying
That's
we're
right.
here to solve real-world issues, right?
Right, that's exactly right. And there are plenty of them. And what's another fascinating thing about scaling up is bioeconomy is an incredibly broad term. So this brings together people who are trying to solve problems in various different end markets, various different feedstocks, various different processing technologies. And it's this part of the solution set still does not get appropriate levels of attention from government, any government. And so what Jeff has continued to do is shine a spotlight on this as an economic opportunity for Canada and an environmental solution globally.
Right. And that brings me to ask you about your world. I understand you're in the sort of government relations, policy world, so you're kind of in between the industry and the government. I don't know how much you're going to be prepared to share, but can you give us a sense of your world and what problems you're trying to solve?
Well, our primary role is to help folks who are trying to bring solutions to market to succeed. So largely that's companies, but also it's trade associations, academic organizations, nonprofits. What we're trying to do is work with the folks that are fighting the status quo with new ideas, new technologies, and trying to bring real things to the market. So it takes an understanding of what the government's doing and what the government might do next, so that people can have business plans and strategies that are anticipate change in government policy intelligently and have risk mitigation plans, but maximize the opportunity presented by government policy so that we can move more quickly. So that's what we do.
And so do you feel that Canada, when compared to other, let's say maybe G7 countries, ranks favorably as a country that pays attention and supports the bioeconomy industry, or do you say we're more laggards? I mean, we've heard a bit of both today.
It is a bit of both. It's very situational. It depends on I would say there's no country out there that is broadly supporting advancements in the bioeconomy. The amount of money, for example, the United States is throwing at it to work on the research and the standards and the commercialization is significant, and it's far greater than what's happening in Canada. But even there, it's maybe $1 billion against $1 trillion in tax credits and financial incentives that are going in now in the United States. So it's everyone has more work to do. Canada has the largest resource and therefore should be the most motivated to explore this opportunity.
In a previous interview today, I can't remember who, I said, oh, it was Jim Lane, of course, of The Digest in the US, which is an American publication and an event on the bioeconomy. And I told him that Canada generally tends to look at the US quite naturally as a big brother. And he said when it comes to the feedstock, Canada is the big brother. So just, I don't know if you want to comment on
Well,
that.
I think Canada needs to lead on this issue rather than follow.
Yeah. So a little challenge for you. So it seems to me like you're someone who basically, in some cases, represents the industry, speaks on behalf, advocates, maybe that's the word, or lobby on behalf of the industry. So how would you synthesize what the industry wants of government in 30 seconds or less?
You know, one of the challenges is the industry doesn't do a good job of synthesizing, and later today when I've got the microphone, that's one of the points I intend to make. So how should it synthesize? I think it should synthesize by saying we have never in the history of environmental protection solved a problem without cleanup as part of the solution set. What biomass does is it draws carbon dioxide out of the air, the stuff that we've spent a century digging up from underground and putting in the atmosphere. How do we get it out of the atmosphere one of the massively near-term solutions for us is biomass if we use it intelligently. So cleanup is the role that biomass can play in solving this problem.
If we imagine scaling up in a year or 2 or 3, having been massively successful, and the industry by extension also, what would you expect of the federal government? Would it be that it would verbalize, that it would state that the bioeconomy is a priority, or the industrial bioeconomy, that it has a strategy, and maybe even that someone like Justin Trudeau, or at least a federal minister, would be speaking here and expressing its support more explicitly?
That's where we need to be. We need sustained, durable, dependable government support for industrial bioeconomy solutions, coupled with clear guidelines on sustainability. So one of the reasons we run into trouble in trying to develop the industrial bioeconomy are fears that are related to what could go wrong. There's plenty that could go wrong if we're irresponsible, if we harvest forests irresponsibly, if we use crops irresponsibly. But we're smart enough to figure out what those things are and prevent them, while we're still using what nature is providing us as a solution. So yes, sustained, intelligent incentives from government paired with very clear, reasonable, well thought through sustainability guidelines.
Very clear. You're clearly a communicator. Thank you very much. Pleasure speaking with you, Chris.
Thank you.